about 125. The next step, in fact, we are looking at bringing it down to 25 servers. Look at the space you will occupy, even if it is like keeping 500 laptops in this room. How much of space it is going to occupy? If I bring it down to probably 10, look at the space that is going to be occupied. So that is the next step. Any questions over here?
Sir.
Yes.
You were telling about this occupying the space and what, could you please brief on what are the technologies that are evolving to reduce the space, kind of thing, more on less, I mean to say. So basically we are now into this Blu-ray technology.
Sorry?
Blu-ray technology.
Blu-ray.
Blu-ray discs.
DVDs. Right. So that can occupy, it can store more data in a given DVD as such. Yeah, that is one of the technologies when you have to back up your information. When you have to use it in your production environment. I did mention about, organizations where you will have, large number of users. Let's take an example of a bank which is closer to you. Corporation Bank. The number of branches they have is close to about 700. 700 branches, every branch having about 8 to 10 users accessing the central infrastructure. Earlier, in fact, every branch had their own ledger book where they used to enter, which was a manual process. Later, they migrated into computerization within the branch. Now, they have a centralized infrastructure. You will have one common data center where you will have all the users across all the locations, across all the branches, accessing the central information. Which means that you need very, very high performance. And also you need very high capacity. Instead of storing the data of one branch, of all the customers or subscribers of one branch, now you're looking at thousands of customers, data being stored on a single set of infrastructure. Hence the capacity requirement will be very high. Which means that it is going to occupy more space. We are looking at technologies, how we can reduce this. What is the first way? What are the disk capacities you have heard of? Disk drive capacities. 500 GB. Today we have drive capacities which are like 1 terabyte. We'll be soon coming up with, next would be like 2 or 2.5 terabyte drives. So instead of storing the data on 500 GB into 2 drives, I'm able to store it on a single drive which is 1 terabyte. That is one thing. But performance also is extremely important. So when you are looking at a 500 GB drive, I may not be able to get the right performance. So I might look at a lower capacity drives where I'll be able to get better performance. So we are trying to increase the speeds of the drives. The drive what you see here would be rotating at 5,400 RPM. Today we are on a high critical application environments. We look at drives that can spin up at 15,000 RPM. We also look at solid state drives. Solid state drives are something similar to your cache, something similar to your memory in your laptops or on your servers. We have consolidated it and then brought it as a drive, which can go up to as high as 143 GB. Copy your data onto the drive and then leave it as it is. So you have another copy. You also have the USB drive. The simple thing is like the thumb drive which I have here. You can copy data onto this also. That is basically copy. It saves in the same format, or it can be saved as an image onto that. If I extend these drives into hundreds of drives, I build up an engine, a software emulation which on top of this bunch of drives. And when I back up, the backup software thinks that this bunch of drives are actually the tape libraries. It is actually sort of cheating your tape, the backup software. You are creating an emulation engine on top of your disk drives. When you back up, the image is stored in the same format as the tapes. That's the concept of virtual tape libraries. We call them as disk libraries. Because I'm not going to do that referencing and then we call it as a single instancing. I create a single copy of the file for various users and then create a reference point. This is used in specific environments. This is not used in every environment. I can't do it in a very highly critical, mission critical production environment. I'm going to use it for non-critical environments. So I gave the example of your own college where you're going to store the data. And what is the type of data? These are standard files. The time it takes for you to fetch that is X amount. Once it is cached on that particular system, if there are 10 different people who are going to access, it gives the same performance or even a better performance to them. So there is no degradation in performance when I have single instancing now. This is already there now. This we introduced about a year back.
In Clarion, in which device do you support?
So we supported both in Clarion. Okay, Clarion's and DMX storage systems are EMC products. Clarion is a mid-range storage, and DMX is a very enterprise class, high-end enterprise class storage. So we have introduced it in both the systems.
So
yes,
you told that the spinning will be reduced to reduce the power consumption. So why can't we stop the spinning and can start only when the request appears?
Sorry, I didn't convey this properly. When I said spin, reduce the speed, it is for the fans. It is not for the disk drives. Disk drives we actually spin down. We shut them off. So that there is no power that is consumed by the drives which we are not going to access. But for the fans, they need to keep rotating at some particular speed. We just vary the speed of the fan depending on the load on the system and the heat that is generated in the system. So if there are no further questions, let me move on to the topic which probably would interest you. Actually, you have answered some of the questions which you would be asking for yourself. Right? What are the opportunities in storage? We did see some of the innovations, emerging technologies. So there is lot more which can be done. Lot more which can be done in this. So we have specifically talking about EMC as an organization or in general in the storage industry. What are the opportunities you guys have? Where all you can look at employment opportunities. One is in the product development and testing. Believe me today, most of the development of these products do happen in India. We are no more just a testing center. Every organization has their offshore development center in India. In EMC, we have close to 2,000 people based out of Bangalore doing the development of most of the products which are discussed here. Many more products, in fact. Mainly on the software front, we'll slowly even start the hardware development in India. So that is the first opportunity where you can see various products which you can start developing. Also, you can start probably in the testing area and then move on to the development. Second one is in terms of the sales and support functions. You can also join our sales force where you will help us in selling these products and solutions. You can also architect these solutions. We did talk about ease of management. We did talk about ILM solutions where in fact we classify the data depending on the need of the organization. But who does this classification? The system can deploy this policy and then it can run, but someone has to define this, which means that someone needs to understand the organization's requirements end to end, consolidated into a centralized banking solutions. When we are talking about such large infrastructures, we need to provide them constant support. So we need people who can help us in providing this necessary support to organizations. And also on the other side, customers also require people who can run your data centers. Today there is a very, very large dearth of trained professionals, especially in storage and data management systems. That is where in fact you guys can look at opportunities. Right? Any questions?